Alright, so since you can fly a nemesis, we'll do that.
I just got the Stradius.
No, this is for Pro Killer.
Ah, okay.
So the main thing that you'll be focusing on in this fit is going to be just rockets. Um, you you can fit a combat probe, like an expanded probe launcher, into a bomber, but it takes up a lot of space. So what you would typically do is you would fly with a regular probe launcher and just scan down the sights yourself and sit there and wait for someone to come, uh, instead of trying to actually scan down whoever it is you're targeting. So can you use rockets or no? Like T2 rockets or just like T1 rockets? Mm, so rapid light missiles are a lot different from rockets. This is going to be what I'm talking about. The rockets are like the equivalent of like blasters for hybrid turrets. They're like the missile equivalent of that. Where a or a light missile would just be like a railgun. Rockets are more like the get in close and fuck them up. You know what I mean? Okay, that's good. Then yeah, you should be able to use them. Just give me 1 second. I've almost got this fit done for you. Alright. So if you go ahead and take a look at that Nemesis fit, um, you don't really. So with bombers, you don't really get bonuses to any other type of missiles than torpedoes. So this isn't going to be something that you can just take into faction warfare and be like, "Oh, look at me! I'm flying around a bomber and I'm killing people." 9 times out of 10, like if you're fighting another like combat frigate, you're gonna die with this fit very quickly. Uh, Bombers are not meant to tank at all, and what little tank you can put in them, you have to sacrifice a lot to get that tank. So this is going to be an exclusive, like, killing ventures and killing explorers, because other than that, this isn't going to do you much good. But it is very fun to do that. Uh, the rockets deal an okay amount of damage. It's not like you would, if you can fit the T2 rockets, I highly recommend it. It makes it a lot better on your life. But you also don't need much in order to kill explorers and ventures. With ventures, on the other hand, you're probably going to want to have someone else scan you in and warp you to them. Oh, yeah, go for it. We're going to go ahead and get fit up. So, oh, there's a lot more people in here now than I first expected. Okay, hello everyone. If all y'all are in fleet, is there anyone here who is not going to be joining us from Jita? Um, I don't know when everyone got in, but just for everyone, we're going to be leaving from Jita. We're going to be going to Thera. If you're somewhere that is not in Jita, you can still meet us in Thera with your own exploration ship. I will link you all the page for the Eve Scout, and all you have to do, it's in fleet right now, all you have to do is type in the system that you're in, and it'll bring up where the closest in hole for Thera is, as well as the in and the out sigs and what type of hole that is in that system. So even if you're still in K7, it's, it says there's a lot of jumps on here, but I don't think it's going to be a lot, uh, especially with using jump gates. It's 29 jumps. It's in Derelict. It's going to be the closest in hole from K7. So does anyone have any questions? Anything at all before we get started? Yes, I will go over what there is. I want to get everyone like fitted up first before we go into that. I'll go into more detail explaining what there is and what you can do there. But first, I want to make sure that everyone who is coming along, either from Jita or wherever else that you have, doesn't matter what ship you bring. It's preferred if you bring something that gets bonuses to scanning, because we'll be doing a lot of scanning. But if you just want to bring a regular combat ship and in hopes for PvP, you can just make sure that you're bringing a mobile depot and a set of probes with you, so that if you get rolled out of a hole for whatever reason, you have a way to get yourself out. No matter what ship anyone brings to this class, I'd please everyone, mobile depot and a scan probes. It's If you get rolled out of a hole, you are functionally on your own, and that is going to be the only insurance policy that you will have to get your ship or your pod out of wormhole space. I can say from personal experience, it has happened a lot, especially when you're flying bigger ships. It doesn't happen as much with frigates, but if you start bringing like battle cruisers, battleships somewhere, you absolutely need to take a probe launcher and probes with a mobile depot anywhere you go. And depending on what you're flying, you'll also want to take a cloak as well. Because if no, you cannot use someone else's mobile depot. You need to have your own. It only takes up 50 cargo space, and even inside a T1 exploration frigate, you can easily fit the probe scanner, the mobile depot, and all the probes that you'll need within your like cargo hold, and still have plenty of room to spare. In total, it should only take up like, I think it's like 61 M3 in your cargo hold. But don't quote me on the specifics because I'm not looking at it at the moment. Okay. So I just linked a system in fleet for everyone. This is going to be where we're headed, and while we are all on the way there, um, I'll go into more depth about what Thera is. So if you all just want to go ahead, undock from Jita whenever you're ready, and we will free burn to the last high sec system before the low secs, and we'll all jump through low secs coming from Jita. together. Just make sure you have shortest route set for this system. This is going to be Ambeki is going to be the system that we're meeting up in before we jump into Losec. So Thera, Thera, you can kind of think of Thera like, think of it like Grand Central Station for wormholes. It is one of a handful of holes that has pretty much a connection to every single type of hole. It's classified, I believe, as a class 12 or class 13 hole, but that's just the special classification for Thera. It is also one of the only, or it is the only named wormhole. When you're in the system, you can actually see the name Thera instead of, regular J codes that other systems have. It is also the only hole in wormhole space with NPC stations as well. So if you wanted to, you can actually live out of Thera as a day tripper and pretty much always have connections to not only high sec but also low sec, null sec, and other wormhole chains. If you do live in Thera, just keep in mind that it is not like living in null sec. It is a very big system, and you cannot CD scan through most of the system. The system itself is about almost 300 AU wide. So if you warp to a hole in something that you don't want to get blown up, you need to be careful that you're not warping to a Dictor bubble or a mobile bubble, and there's not someone waiting for you to kill you. Because it can happen, and it will happen, as well as people killing you on stations. As for the hole itself, you can't anchor structures in it, and most of the time the people living there are either going to be a part of Eve Scout, which is a neutral alliance that runs the website that I had linked earlier, as well as people who are just there to like hunt. They'll typically be flying like T3 cruisers, T3 destroyers, anything cloaky like a Stratios or an Astero, or bombers. So it's not the easiest place to actually live in, but you can do it if you choose to. Does anyone here have any questions so far on anything that I've already covered? Or any questions at all, really? Okay. So if no one else has any more questions, okay, so I see you're with me as well. We can go ahead and start getting into the meat of things. Aside from Thera, we're probably going to be looking for some kills, and I'll get more in depth into hunting people in hunting people in wormhole space, as well as trying to trap people. We don't have any dictors or mobile bubbles with us, but you can still trap people by using the wormhole itself, and you can easily catch people by forcing them to polarize themselves on a hole, and it makes it so that you don't actually need interdictor. And I'll demonstrate that with y'all once we actually get into Thera. Copy that. Okay. Awesome. We will see you in Thera then. When you do come to Thera, if you want to dock up, I would recommend docking up to Paleo Station. I will get it linked in Fleet for you. I just linked the station. That's pretty much like one of the main stations that people use in Thera. There's a lot more activity there, but it's also like a good place to dock if you want activity, which is what we're going to be looking for. Welcome back. We are currently burning towards Giying. Linked it in Fleet. If you want to go ahead leave, if you're leaving from Jita, just free burn straight to the system. It does go through faction warfare space, but it seems pretty quiet for now. Just bring whatever exploration ship you're looking to bring into Thera, and we're going to be getting started in there. And we're going to start going into more in-depth explanations. Do you know what Thera is? Oh, that sucks. Good luck on getting out of that bubble. Okay, so while we're on the way, actually, does anyone have any just in general questions about wormholes that they'd like to get out of the way? Okay, awesome. What ship are you looking to fly, Pro Killer? Do you want something PvP orientated? Do you want to just bring an Explorer? So the thing about sleeper exploration sites is they are not typically, like, they're not your typical exploration sites. They are actually combat sites that you have to clear before you can actually do the exploration part of them. It's those sites are where you get the components that you need for making T3 cruisers and T3 destroyers. And so you can't necessarily do them in like an exploration frigate. You have to have some sort of ship that can clear the actual combat site itself, and then come in with your exploration frigate or refit your ship with relic and data analyzers in order to finish the site. So there are faction exploration sites that spawn in wormholes. However, those sites will only spawn in class 1, 2, and 3 wormholes, and they do not spawn in 4, 5, and 6. So what that means is if you're looking at the info screen of a wormhole and where it tells you where the hole leads to, anything that says just it leads into unknown space is a low enough class that it can spawn faction exploration sites, but anything that says dangerous or deadly unknown space is going to be a class 4 to 5 if it's dangerous, or a class 6 if it's deadly. So that is going to be an easy way for you to find, if you're looking to go through wormholes for exploration, that's going to be your easiest way to find to find out what holes can have the sites spawn in them or not. Yeah, it's no problem. Let me get you a Helios fit. Helios is actually what I typically use. I'm just bringing a Imicus for the purposes of this class. So this fit that I just linked in chat is just for exploration. On my personal Helios that I fly, I like to have an autocannon, a scram, and a combat drone on me as well. And what that does is that essentially allows you to kill anyone who might be in the site with you trying to steal your site. So if you come across another exploration frigate and someone tries to take a can that you're doing, you can actually just kill them very slowly, but you can kill them and just keep the site for yourself. You're not going to be killing a lot when you do that, but it's just enough to keep people from stealing your sites from you. I do actually. Let me get that out of here real quick. So this is the fit for combat. It's got just an autocannon and a drone. This one has a disruptor on it, but typically you would use a scram just in case, just to turn off their micro warp drives. You're not going to be able to catch any ventures with this because you don't have an extra point, but that can be solved with either a faction scram or adding an extra point on as well if you wanted to catch ventures. This has the expanded probe launcher though, so you can actually go and scan people down. You can use this fit as a scout ship more so than as an exploration frigate. Like, you can use it for exploration, but if you keep a mobile depot with you, you can refit it. You can add a covert sino instead of like the autocannon, or you can add more points and a web instead of the relic and data analyzer and the cargo scanner. The only thing that really won't fit too well is if you put anything CPU intensive on. You're gonna be limited in what you can do with your low slots. This fit already has the 2 CPUs, like the CPU boosters in it, but if you're trying to add on a bunch of like scrams and webs and all that, it's going to be very intensive on your CPU, and unless you have the 2 co-processors, then you might not be able to fit it. So we are heading to Gying. There is an in-hole in Gying to Thera, and the signature for it is EIQ. So once you get to Gying, go ahead and just scan down the EIQ hole, and then hop into Thera, and then we'll be starting like practicing scanning in there. I'm gonna have y'all work on scanning me down while I'm in safe spots, so you can get practice with doing that, as well as trying to see if y'all can catch me when I go through another hole, so that you can get more like PvP practice, as well as just the actual basics of navigating wormhole space.
I got a question about the probe launcher.
Go ahead.
Like that expanded probe launcher, it fits like an infinite amount of probes, but like, why is that?
So
when would you use it?
So with the expanded probe launcher, what that does is that the probes have different sizes to them. Regular combat probes are a lot smaller than combat scanning probes, and so with the expanded launcher, you can fit a lot of regular a lot of regular core scanner probes, but you can only fit a limited amount of. You can only fit one set of combat scanning probes. So that's what the expanded launcher is for, is to launch the combat probes and scan people in space down.
But why the 64 slots?
Oh, that's just the size difference
Ah, okay.
of the core scanner probes versus the combat scanner probes.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it's the charges themselves of the probes that are a different volume.
Right. You got time for more questions?
Oh yeah, of course. But you can, if you have a question, just ask. Don't be afraid to ask your question.
So, like, when it comes to wormholes, like, I was wondering, like, one hole closes. Is there like always a guaranteed one that will open? Like, will there always be one open, and where will it lead to?
Okay, so with that, now you're looking into the system of statics. So every wormhole that you can jump to has a specific type of wormhole that the system itself generates. So what that means is that, say, let's just say you're living in a class 1 with a high sec static. Okay, so you are always, no matter what, guaranteed at least one high sec wormhole connection. And so that wormhole spawns within that system and leads out to a random high sec. And whenever that specific wormhole closes, a new one will then spawn inside your hole, leading to a new high sec system. And so,
Within how long?
within seconds, pretty much as soon as the first hole closes, the new signature will pop up in system for the next wormhole. There is a bit of a mechanic with it, actually. If nobody scans down the new signature for a hole, it will not technically spawn in space until an hour, or I believe it's about an hour or two after the signature pops up. And so when you do that, you pretty much close your hole as long as there's no other connections. And nobody can get into your hole until the wormholes open up and physically spawn in space.
Also from the high sec side?
Yes. So what happens is, when you scan down the actual signature itself, okay, and you get it to 100%, signal strength, that is the event that triggers the spawn of the wormhole. So once it's scanned, your hole is open. The wormhole spawns into physical space from the first person that scans it, and the connection that it leads to spawns in the space of the system that it leads to. So there won't technically be, in this scenario, until you scan down the new wormhole, there won't technically be any wormhole in existence that leads to your hole. It will just
Like
be...
Schrodinger's cat.
What was that?
Like Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, basically. Like, your wormhole exists, but to the rest of space it doesn't.
Alright, interesting, good to know.
So, at the moment, I am sitting on the high sec side of the Thera hole. I'm going to be back in a couple of minutes. I just need to take a quick AFK break. When y'all get here, you can fleet warp to me. I'll put an X in fleet for y'all. Or I made a bookmark in the system for the wormhole if you want to warp to it yourself. When I get back, I'm going to be explaining the actual bookmarking format that I used and why why it would make things a lot easier to navigate in wormhole space. But I will be right back in just 1 second. Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Jado. I didn't know they had fixed that a couple patches ago. Um, that's actually good to know. All right, awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
Exo,
it's really nice.
Exo, you're in system with me. Are you at the whole cloaked or?
Yep.
Okay. So, just want to do a real quick into the bookmark, Eve Scout. I will link you the website itself. Once you're on the website, all you need to do is type the system that you're in into the search box and click refresh on the page, and it will bring up automatically what systems are closest to you and how many jumps they are from you. When you're looking at Thera connections in nullsec, though, especially connections that are in blue space, I would take the jumps that Eve Scout displays with a grain of salt because they do not include jump gates. So you may actually be a lot closer to a Thera hole in blue space than you would be anywhere else. I would advise caution with using public Eve Scout bookmarks because there is no guarantee that none of them are compromised, and I would advise that you always have at least 3 or 4 personal safe spots, as well as your own dock and undock bookmarks in system. That way, wherever your bookmarks are, you know that they're not compromised until someone scans you down at them. And that's especially true for safe bookmarks. Always, always, always have your own safe bookmarks, even if your corp or your alliance has bookmarks in them, or for safes in wormhole systems, because you never know when one of those bookmarks might be compromised. And if someone has that bookmark and they scan you down and they know that you're at that bookmark, they don't need to show combat probes. They can just warp to you and kill you. You can do that, but I find it's better to just make your own, because that way you're not even on grid with the bookmarks. Even that, like, and really this is only important for, like, if you're dedicated to not dying. I mean, if you don't care about losing whatever it is you're flying, by all means. But it makes it so that you're pretty much guaranteed to not be on grid with whatever bookmark you're going to be using is, if it is compromised. As for the formatting of bookmarks, I'm going to give y'all awesome. So what I just put in chat, that is an example, and that's the bookmark that I used for this Thera hole. That is an example of how I personally have learned throughout all of the wormhole corporations that I've been in how to format bookmarks for wormhole connections. So the first part of what's in chat is going to be the first 3 letters of a signature. I've never encountered a system where there's more than one signature that has the same letter code. So you only really need to put the letter code of a signature in there. Then after that, where it says Thera, that would be pretty much what you would bookmark as the destination, whether it's high sec, low sec, null sec, or whatever class of wormhole that the wormhole leads to. And then after that, I put the wormhole type, which in this case, since this is the exit side of a hole, this is going to be K162. whenever you see K162, it means that the wormhole that you were about to jump through did not originate from the system that you are currently in. So if you were to jump through this Thera hole that we're sitting at right now, it would have a different wormhole code to it. There is a Eve University web page that I will link to all of you now. And so if you go onto this page and you control F the type of wormhole that you are looking at, you can find details on where it comes from, where it goes to, the maximum allowed mass, which means the amount of mass that a wormhole will take until it closes itself, as well as the mass that's allowed to jump at one time. So, for example, frigate holes will have a certain amount of mass that you can fit through them, not only in individual jumps, but as well as in total. You'll also find how much mass a hole regenerates, if it does regenerate mass. And it will give you the amount of time that the wormhole will stay up for. So some holes only stay up for 16 hours, some stay up for 24, some stay up till 48. It really just depends on what it is that you're planning on using. But in order to find out this information, you need the actual wormhole itself. So what we're going to do is, everyone that is sitting on this Thera hole, we're going to jump through the system, jump through the hole, and we're going to start getting into the thick of things here. Number one that everyone needs to make sure they're doing is having your D-scan up and visible. If you look, when we came in, as soon as we come into system, there is an Eris on D-scan, which means somewhere close by there's an Eris. So we need to be aware of that and make sure that we're not getting killed. Make sure you hold your cloak until you are ready to warp off. I want everyone right now to go and save the location of the wormhole itself and name it something, doesn't matter what. I use RTB. Make sure you put a space and an asterisk before the name of your wormhole, so that no matter what, it will appear at the top of the list for wormholes. Okay? So I just went and bookmarked this as RTB. Now make sure anytime you go through RTB means return to base. So it's just the name that I use to point to show me which wormhole goes back to where I came from. Now if everyone can go ahead and get off the hole and cloak up if you have it, we're going to be going into scanning and making bookmarks for your personal safe, as well as making perches for where you need them, if you need them. You don't always need to make perches, but if you don't know how to make them, this is going to be good for you. So who all here has some type of scanning capabilities, like you're comfortable with scanning down signatures in space in a decent amount of time? Okay, XO, that's one. Okay, no, that's fine. We're here to practice. And as long as you can scan down regular signatures, then you should be good to scan down with combat probes. They work kind of the same way. It's more just that you don't have signatures that pop up in your probe scanning window until you get a hit with your combat probes. So you kind of need an idea of where it is that you're scanning before you start, scanning. Otherwise, your probes are going to be in space for a long time. People are going to be able to see them, and they're going to know that they're getting scanned down. So they're going to have time, if they're looking at D-scan, to get out quickly, and it will make catching them very hard. The biggest thing about using combat probes, as opposed to scan down people, is you need to have an idea of where they are before you start scanning them. So what we're actually going to do, and this is pretty perfect since there's a mobile depot on D-Scan, I want everyone to launch your combat probes, and I want you all to scan down the mobile depot that's on D-Scan right now. So this is going to be perfect practice. There's also an MR shuttle. Okay, that's fine. So it's just going to be exo scanning. That's okay. Exo, if you want, try and scan down that shuttle first, and you can go kill it, whoever's in it. But you do have regular probes as opposed to combats, correct? Do you have an expanded launcher on you, or just the regular launcher? Okay, that's fine. So there are probe launchers that are available in system. Actually, there is a market in Thera, so you can buy things here. It's actually quite cheap for the T1 expanded probe launcher, and then you can buy the regular combat probes or the sisters combat probes. I wouldn't recommend buying anything sisters in system except the combat probes because it's going to be expensive. A sister's expanded launcher is 39 mil in system. But if you would like to practice your combat scanning, then I would recommend going ahead and grabbing yourself one of those. Yes, I will actually. So that's the combat probes. And then I will link you the regular T1. That is the expanded probe launcher that you'll need. And that's just the regular T1 probes. Just for future information, the difference between the Sisters core, or the Sisters line, and the regular T1 probe sets are the Sisters launcher and the Sisters probes give you more scan strength. So if you can't necessarily use a T2 launcher, you can use Sisters launchers in order to still give yourself a nice little boost in scanning strength. And it makes it easier to scan down, you know, not only ships, but signatures as well.
Scan down the depot.
Oh, you got it? Awesome. Well, we can't really kill it because it's got a reinforcement timer. But if by all means, if you want to reinforce it, you're more than welcome to. Usually, if you find a mobile depot sitting in space, it means there's someone camping out in the system. And I mean, you can always try and reinforce a mobile depot and then come back after the timer is up and then kill it. But if someone is living out of it and they're paying attention to it, they'll scoop it and move on, because, you know, once you scoop it, it doesn't really matter.
Do people use it as bait?
Not really. Just because of, you know, the whole reinforcement timer, it doesn't make good bait. However, a mobile tractor unit with some Rex in system would make good bait, because the mobile tractor units don't have a reinforcement timer and you can kill them on the spot. I haven't seen myself many people doing that, but it's something that if you're looking for a fight, you can do it somewhere in like Pochven. You can drop a mobile tractor unit down and then sit off of it cloaked, like 10 at 10 kilometers off of it, and you can wait for someone to come and try and blow it up, and then you'd kill them. If anyone's on the hole, there's a splash on the hole. Don't know if it was friendly or not. No, it was not. There's a heron that just came in. So, what I want to do now is I want to find ourselves a hole to go down. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Jado. Um, so I want us all to go ahead and start scanning for like a hole connection. Um, we don't necessarily need any type of specific hole. Just try and find a wormhole that's going to be going to somewhere in wormhole space. And then we'll use this as practice of going down wormhole chains, scanning down the chains, and um, navigating a wormhole chain itself. I don't know if any of y'all are part of a corp that does wormholes in general, but most corps that do primarily do wormhole space content are going to use a tool like Pathfinder or Tripwire. And what those tools do is they keep track of where you are in space, and they watch as you move into new systems. So they will build out a map for you to navigate through your wormhole chain. And what I'll do is I will link you all Pathfinder, and you can log into your own personal Pathfinder and keep a map, like a working map going of your chain that you're using.
There's so many signatures.
Yes, I don't know if you were here for the explanation earlier, but Thera is basically like Grand Central Station for wormholes. There is a connection to every single type of system that you can go to from Thera. So no matter what, there will always be like Thera. You can think of Thera like as the day tripper's dream. There's always somewhere to go and something you can do.
But all the signatures there, they're all wormholes, right?
Yes. Well, I think there are some that are actually not wormholes. There is considered a shattered system. Yeah, there should be some regular sites as well.
What do you want me to scan down? What kind of wormhole?
So it's not going to say in the signature itself, but what you're looking for is just unstable wormholes, and then you will warp to those wormholes and check the info on the hole itself and see what kind of space it leads to. So like the hole we came down was one that goes out to high sec. We're looking for one that goes out to unknown, some type of unknown space.
Alright.
And I mean, if you want to use a cheat sheet, you can just look in the Eve Scout because they show in and out sigs, and it shows you what class of wormhole they go to. But for the purposes of this class, we're just scanning things down. Thera is the perfect place to go to for if you want to get practice with scanning signatures. Yes, I will link you the Pathfinder.
And are some wormholes like harder to scan down than others?
Some are, yes, but the difference in difficulty between scanning wormholes, it's not so significant that you need to take any specific measures towards scanning them. It just requires a bit more scan strength to do so.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Pathfinder is, for me, not. Here we are, I got it now. So what I just linked is a link to a map that I just started. And that's just going to be, for this class. But you you should be able to make your own map in the future and be able to edit it. When you're looking in Pathfinder specifically, you can add systems, and when you jump into a system, it will automatically link it to the previous system that you were in. So if we jump from Thera, and we're like, if I were to jump from Thera right now and jump into a hole that goes to HiSec or something, what Pathfinder will do is it will draw a line from the system that you were in into the new system, so that you can keep track of what connections go where. And so what you would do at that point, specifically when you're diving through wormholes, is you would rename the hole in Pathfinder, and you would just add maybe like a 1 or an A or something identifiable in front of the name of that wormhole. Then you in game would edit your bookmark to correspond to that, or make your bookmark from the get-go to correspond to that, so that when you are following your wormhole chain, you can basically use Pathfinder as a map to follow in game, and you can count your jumps. So like if we were to go from Thera to a C2, and I named the C2 A from Thera, okay, on Pathfinder it would show as A and then the J code, and then in game I would have a bookmark that would correspond to that hole, and at the beginning of it have the name A. So for example, in the bookmark that I linked earlier in chat, if I can get to it, okay, so I just relinked the bookmark example that I used in chat. And so if you look at it, and in front of the EIQ, that would be where you put the name of the actual like hole, if you're going to be creating a large chain and following that. As for the bookmarks themselves, one suggestion that I would highly recommend following is, whenever you are bookmarking wormholes in specific, firstly, make sure you're not bookmarking the signature of the wormhole, but rather you warp to the signature and bookmark the physical location of the wormhole itself. Because if you bookmark the signature, the actual warp in will be about 5 to 7k off of the hole, and you won't be able to jump instantly through a hole. Whereas if you warp to the signature and save the hole, you can actually directly warp to the hole, and it will likely save your life if you're running from someone. That's good. What signature is it that you just scanned down for that nullsec? And I will see where it goes. We can go roaming there if we want. I don't know if anyone else here would like to. We can find another hole in nullsec as well. UA0. It looks like...
Ooh, I just found a hole with a lot of Leshaks jumping through.
Oh, yeah, don't get caught. Please don't get caught. Yeah, Thera, like I said, Thera is Grand Central, so this is gonna be a very high traffic hole.
Like, I got an example of a bookmark. Some people making the brave bookmarks. I got a question about.
What was that?
Will you check it out? I'm like curious what the M stands for in that code.
Hmm. So I'm not familiar with this specific formatting, but to me it looks like they're trying to say that it's a medium-sized hole, so that only cruisers can fit into it. Cruiser and below can fit into it.
Huh?
But that's just a inference from what I see here, because I see it's got the signature tag on the front, goes to a class 2, and then I guess or that could be the J code of the system itself. Not entirely sure, but I see where it says low sec, and then that looks to be like a medium size hole.
Yeah, probably then.
Um, the the thing about bookmark formatting, um, most corps have their own specific formatting that they prefer you to use when you're making corp bookmarks. And so, when you've been a part of enough, wormhole corps and wormhole alliances, that what pretty much whatever you use the most is what sticks to you. So like the formatting that I've linked is just the format that specifically I use for my own personal use that I've picked up from other wormholers in the past. So the actual formatting itself isn't necessarily what's important when it's just you making your own personal like wormhole chain. Um, but it is good to get accustomed to making your own format. One, so that you can make sure there's essential information in the bookmark. So like where a hole leads to is definitely going to be one of the most important ones, as well as the signature of the hole. Um, I usually put in the wormhole type so I know whether it's an exit hole or if it is a like small sized hole. If it's not K162, then I can go and check, on the Eve University site, the mass, the time, and how long it has until it's EOL. Um, Usually, if a hole is at end of life or is under critical mass, I would put that in the last part after the wormhole type of the bookmark. So, for example, I would add like EOL, and it would look like this. Or if a hole is crit, just add the crit, and then obviously if it's both, add both. Um, in terms of end of life and crit wormholes, you pretty much, if you do decide to go down a wormhole that is either EOL or crit, it is of the understanding that there is a probable chance that you won't be going back. So it's something that you need to keep in mind, and also check every wormhole that you jump through before you jump it. In terms of EOL, there is actually, if your graphics are high enough, not sure if it does it on low graphics, but you can look at the physical wormhole itself, and there will be a ripple effect coming off of the wormhole, and that shows you that it's EOL and that it's going to collapse pretty soon. There's no real way to tell when exactly an EOL hole is going to collapse unless you saw it go EOL yourself. So it's more of like, just be cautious if you do jump through something EOL, that you're likely not going to be able to come back.
Say like your wormhole only has like one mass left, so to say, and your ship is two. Can it still go through or not?
Hmm. Like, are you saying like if it's crit and your ship goes through, can someone else come through?
No, will you go through if like your mass is higher than the wormhole? Maybe he still has left.
Oh, yeah, yes. So if a wormhole's crit and you have more mass on your ship than the hole has left, you can go through, but it will close the hole behind you. And so that's how people will roll their wormholes in the system, is they'll, bring the hole down to crit with, a large like battleship or something, and then as they're jumping back from it being critical, they'll jump hot, which means they'll have their micro warp drive on and their armor plates enabled, and it will close the hole behind them, allowing a new hole to open up in the system.
Right?
Yeah, see, Jado, that's what I was talking about with the whole like formatting thing. It's very specific to who it is. Like my format that I've linked is specific to like wormhole space and how that operates, whereas yours is, if people are day tripping, then they need to know more so what type of hole it is and where it leads to specifically. So it's looking like U-Scout has not been updated recently, because I've got a couple of SIGs on here that aren't updated. So we might be able to go down a chain here without being noticed. Small holes can spawn in nullsec. It's not, it really is not often, and it will likely come from like a shattered hole. At least that's been my experience of small holes going to nullsec, is they'll come from shattered wormhole systems. No, so shattered wormholes can have they can have small holes. They can actually have most sized holes, but there are a couple of systems that are frig only systems, and they will only spawn small holes in them, and so you can only get into it with a small like ship.
You can always jump a hole, right, when you have an aggression timer or not, or whatever penalty.
Yes, however, there is a mechanic called wormhole polarization, so it limits how many times you can actually jump through a hole.
Yeah, the back
So
and forward.
yeah, so what you can do is you can jump into a hole, and then you can jump back through, but before you can jump again, you have a 5-minute timer that you have to wait. And that 5-minute timer starts from the moment you jump into the hole. So for example, right now I'm at a low sec hole in system, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and jump through it. And then when I jump through it right now, it's going to give me a 5-minute timer on the Thera side of the hole. So now I've jumped into the low sec system, and I'll go ahead and link it so y'all can see in the chat. This is where I've led to, okay? And then I'm gonna save my location. Now that I've saved the location, I'm gonna jump back into Thera. And so now that I've jumped back, I will take a screenshot to show you. And so basically now I have a timer for 5 minutes, which is currently at 4 minutes and 1 second, until I can go back through into that low sec system from this wormhole. So that is actually a way that you can trap people in wormholes and you can catch them on a hole.
Gotcha. And like all the listings on the Eve Scout websites, is that made by like players?
Yeah, so Eve Scout is an alliance, and they live in Thera. And pretty much what they do is they're neutral explorers, and there's lots of like vets, and that you can kind of think of it as like Brave for wormhole space, or like Eve University for wormhole space. Even though Eve University does have wormhole space, and so does Brave, has a wormhole corp as well, but they're the ones who are in game scanning down the signatures that are in the game and uploading it onto the website for everyone to get.
Okay. That's
And
that's really nice of it.
yeah, it's a service that has been going on for a very long time. Like when I first joined Eve, one of the first corps that I was a part of was Eve Scout, and so they're really great people, and it's a really awesome corp to be in, honestly. And if you want to like take a long time, getting practice and just being like in wormholes, I highly recommend it. And here I'll link you the specific corporation that I was in, that was a part of Eve Scout.
Ah, cool. Yeah, seems like a fun system to live in actually, Terra, with all the... You got a lot of power here.
Oh yeah, Thera is like Thera is essentially if you want to live in a wormhole, but you don't want to drop billions in, you know, in fuel blocks, in stations, or pocos, and so you get most of the benefits of living in a wormhole from not really living in a wormhole, basically.
That's kind of awesome, like I'm gonna lie.
The only thing about Thera is this is again Grand Central Station, so there's a lot of people here, and unlike Grand Central Station, someone can just walk up and shoot you in the head, and you'll die. So if you do live in Thera, just always be aware that there is a possibility that any wormhole chain you go down is going to have someone waiting for you to try and kill you.
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely a fun place to live. I would highly recommend it, especially for anyone that wants to get into day tripping. You can easily just keep assets in Thera for yourself. Maybe a combat ship, a scanning ship, and maybe like a miner or something, like a venture. And you can keep it in station here. And so whenever you have a Thera connection that's close by to like blue space, you can just go in and go day tripping for the day. Just go on an adventure, basically.
That's such a good idea. I'm for sure gonna do that. Put some ships here.
I can also tell you that Thera is actually a great way to transport goods and materials from, safe high sec systems into uh, anywhere else, basically. It's not very reliable in terms of getting to specific wormhole systems.
You gotta have
However,
some patience.
what was that?
You gotta have some patience.
Well,
Right
no.
six spawning.
It's that's more like there's only a limited amount of actual wormhole connections that come to Thera, and so there's like tens of thousands of wormhole systems, but you can only really have like a handful of connections that go out to wormholes or come in from wormholes. So you can't really use it to navigate to like someone's specific hole very reliably at all, but you can say there's a connection in K7D or close to K7D and you want to get to a Mars space and there's a connection from from Thera that goes to a system that's say 3 or 4 jumps from a Mar. And now all of a sudden you don't need a jump freighter, you just need a DST and you can fly through Thera. And again, it's not a reliable thing to do. It's certainly not as reliable as like taking the Parchment Express, but it's a lot easier of a way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially with the Eve
it's
Scout
just
service.
there. If it's there, it's there. If not, it's not. You can always do the parchment. Yeah.
Exactly. So, does anyone else have any other questions so far from anything that I've covered?
Well, you were talking about static wormholes, but I'm not really familiar with the other ones, or I'm not sure if you're gonna explain it later. Or
Yeah, I can go into that. So do you understand like how the mechanics of a static wormhole works?
no, because like what other versions are there?
Okay, so let me do this. Give me 1 second and I will link you a website. A lot of wormhole spaces uses a lot of third-party tools. Um, nice. Just if you're gonna do the data site, just be careful. There might be someone camping there. Okay, so what I linked in chat is Anoikis, which pretty much is a tool that you can look up any wormhole system with. Um, if you go under Systems, there's a tab up at the top left. You can filter out for specific types of systems. And so the way that statics work is every wormhole system is guaranteed to spawn a certain type of wormhole in it. And so, like, if you look at some of the C3 static or the C3 wormholes, you'll see that a lot of them are low sec statics, and then there's an entire list of high sec, null sec. There's ones that lead to uh, there are a few that have dual statics in them, but those are all shattered wormhole systems. The rest of the C3s will only have either a high sec, a low sec, or a null sec static. So those are all guaranteed to spawn at least one wormhole that is of the type of the static that it has. Everything else that spawns in the system is considered a random spawn, whether it's originating from the system or, going into the system.
All right.
Another thing that you would want to know about specific wormhole systems is like the system types. So if you're still looking at Anoikis in the systems, you'll see where it says the effects. There is a black hole, cataclysmic variable, magnetar, pulsar, red giant, and wolf riot. They all have their own system-wide effects that apply to your ships. So, for example, black holes will increase the effectiveness of your webs as well as give you better damage application on um, missiles. The the downside to it is uh, there's negative effects that come with the wormholes. So, I'm trying to bring it up right now for black holes in specific. Okay, so going to link another link here. This is to the Eve University website. Um, so for black holes, you get a bonus dependent on, and the bonus itself is dependent on what class of wormhole you're in. But you get a bonus to missile velocity, missile explosion velocity. You get a bonus to Vorton projectors, your ship velocity, and your targeting range. But you actually get a penalty to stasis web, which was my bad. But you also get a penalty to your ship inertia. And so you can look on this website and you'll see all of the different system effects. And a higher class wormhole is going to have much stronger effects both on the positive and the negative side. So like in a C6 Wolf Riot, right? You're getting a bonus to armor HP, and small weapon damage, and a bonus to your signature radius, but you get a penalty for shield resist. So in a C6 Wolf Riot, you would, if you were flying, say, a Hecate, you would be at a massive advantage over someone who's flying like a T3 cruiser, something bigger than you. And these effects aren't something that you need to take into account when you're doing like exploration or your mining or your gas huffing in wormhole space. But if you are looking to get into roaming and PvP and hunting in wormhole space, I would highly advise you keep aware of where you are trying to kill someone, because you could be inadvertently putting your own ship at a disadvantage depending on the system that you're in. So, say for instance, you are flying a Stratios and you have your Stratios fit as an armor tank. Well, if you were in a pulsar system, you get a penalty to your armor resist and your signature radius. So, you would be at a disadvantage versus someone who lives in that system and flies mainly shield-based ships, who will have a much more effective tank than you and could possibly kill you quicker.
Yeah, the people living there, they got the fits ready.
Yeah, pretty much. When it comes to people's home systems, a lot of corps will be very specific about what type of system they live in. The biggest thing is just the effect of the system and what class of wormhole it is. So, say for instance, a corp that is living in a C4 black hole system, in terms of what they will usually fly or what their home defense will be, it will likely be something like Drakes or Nighthawks or Tengus that are going to get the bonus to the velocity, the targeting range, and the missile bonuses, versus a corp that is in a C6 Wolf Riot. They're likely going to have tactical destroyer doctrines and will be focused on taking advantage of that small armor based ship doctrine. So when it comes to like if you're invading, that's where things get really important. But when it's just small scale PvP, you just need to be aware that you yourself are not going to be at a massive disadvantage versus something that could have a massive advantage over you in that hole. That's the only real place where this becomes like vital to pay attention to.
And the system effects, do they also apply to NPCs?
Uh, so I'm not entirely sure about that. Um, I can't give you a for sure yes or no because I've never done the testing to find that out.
In trick space, it works like that, but yeah, not sure.
Yeah, that would have to be something that you'd have to go in and test. The easiest way to test for it would be checking the velocity of a sleeper ship in a non-affected system versus the velocity of a sleeper ship in a black hole system. Just because that specifically, if a sleeper ship is a lot faster in a black hole than it is in a no effect system, then that will tell you that the effects of the wormhole do apply to NPCs. Yes, you can use bubbles in Thera. Thera is essentially it is functionally nullsec or any other, JSpace system. The only difference is that there are guns. There's two guns on the stations, but that is the only security that is in Thera is those two guns on every station. Other than that, it's there's no rules. No, you can bomb. You can bomb. You can drop bubbles. You can pretty much do whatever you want. It's functionally nullsec. So does anyone have any more questions at all about wormholes? Because at this point, I have pretty much gone over everything that I plan to go over, and everything else is just going to be y'all taking your own time to practice in scanning down systems and scanning down people in systems, and that just comes down to basic like scanning skills. So for combat scanning, um, I would recommend at least having your support skills for astrometrics to level 4 and your astrometrics itself to level 4, but if not, I would recommend that to level 5, um, if you want to take the time and do that. That way, basically the biggest thing is when it comes to just scanning down signatures, you don't need to worry about the speed or the accuracy that you get them at. But if you're trying to scan ships down in space, then it becomes more important that you do it quickly and efficiently. And so in order to do that, you're going to need your support skills scanned up enough to where you're not just struggling to scan down whatever it is that you're targeting. So like if say there was like something battle cruiser or battleship size in a system and you wanted to scan it down, it's not going to be that hard and you can easily get away with it with like level 2 or level 3 skills in addition to like sisters equipment. But when it comes to like scanning down smaller ships, like if you were trying to scan down an explorer, you're absolutely going to need at least level 3 or level 4 in those support skills, in addition to likely needing sisters equipment and bonuses from the ship that you're using in order to do it in an efficient manner. Um, the biggest thing about combat scanning people down is using your D-scan to get a general idea of where they are before you launch probes. That way, if you see that someone is like 1 AU off of a planet, then you can launch your probes, and instead of scanning the entire system, start at the planet that you're descanning at 1 AU, and you'll get a lot more signature on them from the get-go. So it makes your combat scanning more efficient by using D-scan to deduce where your target is before you drop probes. And this is something that you can do from a Covop ship cloaked, so that whoever it is that you're trying to, scan down to likely kill, you have as little time as possible where your probes are on D-scan where you can be spotted. And as soon as you get a lock on their signature, you save the location of that signature just in case they warp off, and you pull your probes so that just in case that they didn't see your probes from the get-go, they won't see your probes while you're warping to them. So, do y'all have any other questions before I stop the recording? Okay, Jado Pro, any other questions at all? Alright, well, I'll go ahead and stop the recording there.